If you've ever had a moment in your life where everything seemed perfect, only to later realize it was all an illusion, then you'll understand exactly where my story begins. For years, I truly believed my husband and I were building something strong, something lasting, something real. We had our routines, our shared dreams, our quiet evenings that felt comforting in the simplest ways. I never imagined that behind those familiar smiles, there could be layers I never saw. At the time, nothing felt unusual. He was warm, attentive, and always talking about our future. I held on to those moments because they made me feel safe, even seen. Looking back now, I realize how much I missed not because I ignored signs, but because I trusted with my whole heart. I thought we were walking the same path. I thought I knew him completely. I had no idea that everything I believed in was about to shift in a way I never expected. It's strange how the smallest changes can whisper the loudest warnings, even when we're not ready to hear them. At first, the shift in my husband's behavior felt harmless. He became slightly more distracted, often checking his phone with a kind of urgency I hadn't seen before. He said work was getting heavier, and I believed him because why wouldn't I? Trust had always been the foundation of our marriage, but over time, the distance grew so quietly that I almost didn't notice it happening. He started coming home later, offering gentle explanations that sounded reasonable enough. Still, something inside me felt unsettled, like a faint tap on the shoulder. I kept brushing off. I told myself he was tired. I told myself stress looked different on everyone. Yet some nights, when he slipped into bed long after midnight, I could feel a heaviness in his silence, one that didn't belong to the man. I thought I knew something wasn't right, and that realization slowly began to settle in my heart. The moment everything shifted didn't come from a dramatic discovery. It came from something so ordinary that at first, I almost ignored it. One afternoon, his phone buzzed while he was in the shower. Normally, I never felt the need to check his messages. Trust had always come naturally. But this time, the notification preview showed a name I didn't recognize. It wasn't the name itself that shook me. It was the heart emoji beside it. My breath caught for a second. It felt like my mind split into one part, insisting there had to be an innocent explanation, and the other whispering that my fears might finally have a shape. I didn't open the message. I couldn't, but that tiny preview replayed in my mind for the rest of the day, like a quiet alarm I couldn't shut off. That night, as he talked about another exhausting workday, I felt a knot forming in my chest. For the first time, I wasn't sure he was telling me the truth. After that day, something inside me shifted. I wasn't angry yet just unsettled. Like the ground beneath me wasn't as stable as I once believed. I started paying attention to little things I used to overlook. His schedule suddenly had gaps that didn't make sense. He guarded his phone more closely, even taking it with him to the kitchen when he grabbed a glass of water. And the way he smiled when certain notifications appeared, it felt different, distant, as if that smile no longer belonged to our life together. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I watched quietly, hoping I was wrong, hoping the story in my mind wasn't real. But each day added another piece to a puzzle I never wanted to assemble. A forgotten receipt, a strange charge on our account, a new cologne he never mentioned, buying all small things on their own. But together, they painted a picture I couldn't ignore. I felt my heart slowly preparing for an answer I wasn't ready to face. One evening, the tension became unbearable. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to scroll through my phone, when a message popped up on his laptop, a message that immediately made my heart sink. I didn't need to read it fully. The tone, the names, the context, all of it confirmed the reality I had feared. My hands trembled, my chest tightened, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe. I felt lost, betrayed by the person I trusted most in the world. But there was no yelling, no dramatic confrontation. Instead, I took a deep breath and decided to face it with clarity. I wanted the truth, all of it, without losing myself in anger or humiliation. I calmly asked him to sit down, and as I watched him struggle to meet my eyes, the weight of years of secrecy and deception filled the room. In that moment, everything changed. I realized our lives would never be the same. The conversation was one of the hardest moments of my life. I sat across from him, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the truth I had uncovered. I didn't shout or accuse. Instead, I spoke from my own pain, my voice steady but raw. I explained how deeply hurt and betrayed I felt, how years of trust and shared dreams now seemed fractured. His silence was deafening, and I realized some things could never be undone. As we talked, I also reflected on my own choices, the times I ignored red flags, the moments I doubted my instincts. I realized that facing the truth wasn't just about him, it was about me reclaiming my own sense of clarity and self-respect. Even though the situation was devastating, this confrontation forced me to acknowledge my feelings, set boundaries, and understand what I deserved. In the pain, there was a strange sense of empowerment, a small step toward healing and reclaiming my life. After the confrontation, I knew that life would never return to what it once was. The trust I had placed in him was broken, and I had to make difficult choices about our future. I spent days reflecting on what I truly wanted: peace, honesty, and a life where I could feel secure again. It wasn't easy to accept that some relationships, no matter how much you care, may not be salvageable when honesty is absent. I also reflected on my own growth. Discovering his double life was painful, but it forced me to listen to my instincts, value my boundaries, and prioritize my emotional well-being. I realized that healing didn't mean forgetting or forgiving blindly. It meant understanding, learning, and moving forward with self-respect. Sharing this story with you isn't about shaming anyone, it's about showing that facing the truth, no matter how painful, can lead to clarity, resilience, and ultimately, your own empowerment. What would you have done in my place?